Hello, everyone, and welcome to the finals match for War Machine Weekend Invitational 2014. I'm Will Schick, Director of Business and Brand Development for Privateer Press, and I'm here, as always, with David D.C. Carl, our Development Manager for Privateer Press. What a day we've had today. We've covered 4 rounds of the Invitational. The first round happened last night.
Yep.
Lots of upsets throughout this Invitational this year. A lot of really amazing plays by players, some tight and close matches. And now
some very interesting matchups, some very interesting games.
Yeah, and it's all led up to this. So our finals match today features Brandon Kading, who we've seen in action twice now already, with some amazing assassination attempts, pulled out in really unwinnable-looking situations, or difficult situations, I should say, not unwinnable.
And we've also seen his opponent today.
We have.
Who is Nick Crumpton, a.k.a. Crump. He played earlier using his Kruger list, and he's now playing his Kaya the Wildborn list. We've also seen both of Brandon's lists, both Fiora, Protector of the Flame, and Hierarch Severius. Which one's he using this time around?
So we had an interesting discussion about this while we were waiting for this event to final up once we knew who the players were. And when I looked at it, I think we all kind of knew right away. We were like, based on Brandon's 2 lists, it was going to be Kaya 2 for Crump.
Right.
And for Brandon, because he knew he was facing Circle, it was going to be Severius 2, because Severius 2 has the tech in that list to really mess with hordes in general, and I think this Circle list overall. So Brandon is taking his Severius 2 list. That list includes Adjudicator, which is bonded to Severius. That Warjack bond being, I think, really important for this matchup in that he can spend 1 focus point to not suffer the damage roll from an attack. And when you're talking about Circle and its ability to kind of hit super hard, needing to level all of those attacks and make them count, that 1 taken away can really make the difference between a destroy Adjudicator and a functional Adjudicator. He's also got a Reckoner, which we've seen him use several times today to good effect. Blessing of Vengeance is also in this list, giving Severius excellent arcing ability for his spells and for his Rain of Fire ranged attack. Temple Flame Guard unit as a full 10-man, with the UA is also in. Combined with Severius' Holy Ward, that unit can be pretty much untouchable against charge attacks from average map models.
Especially with Rupert Carvalho there.
Correct.
And coming up.
Rupert Carvalho is there for a Dirge of Mist and also some Pathfinder, which we've seen used to good effect. A min unit of Choir rounds out the units. We have a Vassal, 2 Vassals of Menoth, a Vassal Mechanic. And then finally we've got Roven and his Honor Guard as actually the last unit. It's just at the bottom of the list here. And those guys are going to be very important as well in terms of their anti-horde tech and shutting down and stripping Fury off, as well as being able to dish out some serious damage. And last but not least, we've got that Covenant of Menoth, another key piece, I think, in this matchup in terms of its ability to lock down spells and also just to be an annoying speed bump with that Ancient Shroud ability, slowing down ability, killing it quickly. So very solid list, I think, in this matchup, and I'm excited to see how Brandon uses it in this event.
So on the other side of the table, we'll have Crump's Kaya the Moon Hunter list. She, of course, has Laris in her battle group. Laris comes automatically, but she also has Getorix, a Warpwolf Stalker, a Pureblood Warpwolf, and a Gorax, as well as 2 Rotterhorn Griffins. So a truly massive battle group to take a lot of advantage of her feet. She's also got a Druid Wilder, 2 Blackclad Wayfarers, 2 units of Shifting Stones, 1 of which has the Stone Keeper. So a very compact list, very low model count, no units at all that are, well, not immobile. So talking about a list very geared towards sending a beast way up into the fray and slaughtering things.
Right. And our scenario for this finals match is Fire Support. So in Fire Support, Killbox is in effect, so we're going to have to see those Warcasters and Warlocks moving up the field to make sure that they don't hand over CPs to their opponent. You'll see that there are 2 flags placed on the table. Those flags are placed in the center of the table, 16 inches from the side, 16 inches from each other. You can control the flag for 1 CP, dominate a flag for 2 CP. In addition, there are objectives on the table. Those are placed 19 inches up, from the player's edge, and you can see those there. The objectives are ammunition caches. Neither player will be using the firepower ability from the ammunition cache, since neither of them have light artillery with them in this game. But an ammunition cache does give models with light artillery boosted damage rolls. if they're within 4 inches and not contested. Each objective has 15 damage points and cannot be damaged or targeted until the second player's second turn. A player who destroys his enemy objective or removes it from play scores 1 CP. So it is possible in this event to score 4 CPs on 1 turn. Rare feat, but possible.
Yeah, exactly. It's not too likely, but it is within the realm of possibility.
And we are now moving to deploy. You see our players there shaking hands. And pre-deployment happening right away with Brandon. Brandon did take the first turn here. So likely to be a little bit of an advantage on his side, considering that Crump's Kaya 2 list really looks for that alpha strike. And if Brandon can manage to eliminate a shifting stone early, that can prove critical. We saw that happen in Crump's game against Charles Aerosmith earlier today, where Charles was able to use his spawning vessel along with Veil's ability to Oraculi and Spellbound models that are hit to pull those stones off really quick and remove the threat, the double teleportation threat that both of Crump's lists are really built around. See those Temple Flame Guard getting clumped up right there next to that wall.
Players are clarifying that it is a kill box scenario.
You see Brandon putting Blessing of Vengeance on the side of the Temple Flame Guard along with a Vassal of Menoth. Covenant of Menoth going behind those Temple Flame Guard. Pretty heavy deployment on Brandon's right side there.
Now, I would not be surprised to see the Covenant of Menoth used as a roadblock in this particular matchup. Crump really doesn't have the type of models or units that can do a whole lot of damage rolls with just like to pull it out of the way. He doesn't have weak, any sort of chump unit, any sort of like line unit. It's all just the shifting stones, which don't attack, and then solos and war beasts. So going to have to really focus some effort on removing the Covenant of Menoth, and I suspect we'll see Brandon use that to his advantage.
Costed him a lot of fury for sure. See Brandon deploying his Reckoner there reverse style so that that table, well, beautifully sculpted, has a little bit of an incline on it as it leads down into the ice area on the table. So he turned it around so it wouldn't tip over on him. Have, again, a very hefty side deployment here on Brandon's side, kind of avoiding that zone with the clock up there. Now, the clock is on the table so that you can see it in this overhead shot. That will be moved if models do wind up over there. But the table's edge effectively goes a little bit past where the white part on that clock is, effectively where the end of the screen is for you. I see Crump having similar issues with his Getorix, trying to make sure that Getorix doesn't tip over right away, going off that incline.
One of the things to keep in mind with Kaya the Moon Hunter is her alpha ability, whereas the other Kaya that we saw earlier in the weekend gives +2 to the melee attack rolls of her war beasts. This version of Kaya, Kaya the Moon Hunter, allows those living war beasts in her battle group that begin their activations in her control area to run, charge, slam, or trample without being forced. So that's something that will yield some real focus efficiency in later turns when the beasts are charging in, and then still have their full complement of fury for boosting rolls or making additional attacks.
Yeah, certainly a critical ability here in terms of fury efficiency. And again, Circle with the Gorax has high damage output, but it comes at a severe cost. So you want every attack that you possibly can, especially against something like Adjudicator, which has an immense amount of boxes and the ability to slough one of those damage rolls through Severius's Bond ability.
Crump using the same positioning on his Shifting Stones units as he did in the last match we watched. You've got the row in the middle there that's one unit, kind of just neatly in a line, and then you've got that giant triangle that the Stonekeeper is allowing to have a much larger formation.
And so you've got color coordination on those bases to kind of differentiate them. It's hard to pick up on the camera, but you've got black and purple bases effectively that denote the two units easily on play, and Brandon's able to see that pretty simply. So with that, deployment is done, And Brandon begins his first turn. So you can see the crowd gathered around here to watch this Invitational Finals match on Sunday, the last day of War Machine Weekend, the last real event of War Machine Weekends. So we see Brandon allocating 1 focus to each jack, in addition to the 1 focus that is allocated for free by the Adjudicator's Reliquary. See the Temple Flame Guard running forward. Nothing to fear, really, from ranged attacks at this point. Crump's army not boasting many ranged attacks. Does have to watch out a little bit for those Rotterhorn Griffins and their Shriek ability in later rounds, though. See our judges there, AK, Tim, and Chili, watching the table. Players for this final event having a good time, laughing, despite the high pressure of the situation and everything that's on the line right now. These guys have been playing a long, effectively 2 days worth of events, if you count last night's round 1. So it's a grueling event. This is always the time where you see players and their endurance come into play. You've been playing a lot of games. You've gone through a lot of different permutations and lists. You're tired. You're hungry. And now's where your A game really counts. But a lot of times these final matches can really hinge on a player's ability to focus in and keep that mental acuity that is so easy to slip after long nights, a lot of games, and a lot of pressure that you feel. You know, these guys have a lot of eyes on them, not just on the live stream, but also here in general. So you see Blessing of Vengeance run forward.
So
getting
many
behind
of the
a wall.
players here, too, have not just played a lot of rounds in this particular tournament, but have played in 2, 3, 4 different events over the course of the weekend. And it's a lot of games.
Yep.
It eventually does start to kind of mentally wear you down a little bit, tire you out, but it's also a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. We've had a lot of people tell us just how much they enjoyed some of the games with their various opponents this weekend.
So we have Severius, who activated and put Holy Ward on the Temple Flame Guard, as we expected from watching Brandon's previous games. Also had a Vassal of Menoth move up and enliven Blessing of Vengeance. Now have the Reckoner running forward with its focus. You see them pulling those trees. So you'll notice that there are 3 templates on the table right now that have those gray circles. Those used to be forests with trees. Now they're just forests without trees for simplicity. Adjudicator runs forward, keeping 1 focus point on it to be able to use Severius' bond ability if it needs to. See Rovin and his body. Oh, nope, that was a Vassal of Menoth there, enlivening the Reckoner. Now you see the Vassal Mechanic, it looks like, running up and into base-to-base contact with the Adjudicator. Have the Covenant of Menoth running forward, jumping over that wall. See Juvian Rovin and his bodyguard running forward, spreading out a bit, checking his command to make sure that that bodyguard is in Rovin's command range. See Rupert Cavallo advancing forward, doing Dirge of Miss on the Temple Flame Guard, raising their defense by another 1. So they are +3 defense right now against any kind of ranged or magic attack. And they can't be targeted by magic attack as well from Holy Word, so just ranged attacks. You see the choir just run forward to keep pace, knowing they don't really need to cast any of their hymns this turn. That ends Brandon's turn, so a fairly efficient and quick turn here.
Which brings us over to Crump's Warbeast Heavy list. He'll be looking to get things into position, I think, for next turn, more so than really launch any major attacks quite yet.
See Crump doing some measurements here. Decides
do
to
a
teleport the shifting
from the unit of shifting stones with the Stone Keeper.
See a measurement really quick to the flag, so trying to
make sure that he's contesting, I think.
Or using that distance simply as a marker of pre-measurement. We've seen players do that multiple times today, since you can measure your control range on objectives and flags at any time. It's a handy way to measure 4 inches and kind of get a gauge in addition to being able to measure your melee range on a unit that's activating or things like that.
And your control area.
And your control area. The control area one you see all the time. Players often measure their control areas at the same time in certain situations. So
moving the last model here, or last stone from the primary unit of shifting stones with the Stone Keeper. They now have their triangle farther up the field.
Stone form going on the Stone Keeper as well.
That will make him highly resistant to blast damage, and since there are not a lot of easy ways to, well, Brandon does have a way to see through the stealth of that unit.
Yep.
We might see that come into play here to eliminate some of the stones.
He certainly has Menos Sight from Visgoth, Juvian, Roven, and his Honor Guard. That will allow him to choose a friendly faction model, and well in Roven's command range. For one round, that model will ignore stealth and ignore cloud effects when determined line of sight. So,
as well as awareness from Severius himself.
And awareness from Severius himself. So a lot of ways to kind of see through Kaya's and Circle's ability in general to try to protect their models from the ranged attacks, of which Brandon is boasting a fair amount.
We have the Warpwolf Stalker who ran forward. Now we have one of the Rotterhorn Griffins who ran forward. Crump is forcing them, even though technically he doesn't have to, thanks to the alpha ability of Kaya the Moonhunter. But he does want to get some Fury out there so that Kaya can leech it back next turn. The Blackclad Wayfarer advancing. Kaya activates. She puts Forced Evolution on Getorix, which gives the already powerful and defensive Warbeast +2 additional strength and +2 defense. So it turns Getorix into a real beast. She also casts Shadow Pack on herself, which gives all models in her battle group stealth while they're in her control area. That is an upkeepable spell, so that's going to be a major part of Crump's plan to force Brandon to use just those specific models who can gain some sort of anti-stealth ability when trying to attack them with ranged attacks.
And it looked like Getorix forced for hyper-aggressive, I believe. So if he does get tagged with an attack, he's going to be able to choose to make a full advance directly toward the attacking model.
And just to clarify, correction on the anti-stealth capability, awareness will allow line of sight through things, but does not change anything with regard to stealth. So really just Vigoth Roven, who is going to be able to provide offense at range against all of these various stealthy models. Beasts continue running. Warp Wolves continue warping.
You see the Blackclad Wayfarer deciding what he's going to do. See a phase jump.
Places him anywhere he wants near some stones. Now he is behind the forest, and Crump mentions the awareness spell.
Which will allow him to see through the forest, so really the forest doesn't provide any protection. Stealth is the only real defense, and even that's overcomeable by Brandon.
Yeah. So we have another phase jump, it looks like.
Yep, that was another phase jump. He could have ran to the same position, but as we discussed in an
less
earlier
fun.
game, it's less fun. It's not as thematic.
Why walk when you can teleport?
Exactly. Save your energy. See the other unit of shifting stones that does not have the UA going now, teleporting as well. Shifting their distance.
That other unit of shifting stones being one of the only things in the army without stealth. I mean, not quite by any means, but kind of rare at this point. Laris runs forward. The Gorax, which Crump notes is precariously standing on some rocks there, also runs forward, and Crump ends his turn.
Wilder hanging out in the backfield there, trying to maybe stay out of range of those guns. So, quick clarification on hyper-aggressive is that you can make the advance, you don't have to make the advance. So, see Crump clarifying the facing on the Blackclad Wayfarer. So Brandon getting some clarification on which shifting stones are which, trying to figure out which ones have stealth and which ones don't. One of the things that kind of works against Crump here is the fact that because his battle group all has stealth, they can't block line of sight to those stones that don't have stealth. So I think Brandon has a clear opportunity here to try to eliminate one of the stones from the unit that doesn't have stealth, remove the double teleport, and then using Roven, potentially he might be able to take a shot on the other unit and completely negate that double teleport threat.
Yeah, if he could negate the threat of any teleportation at all, that would be quite a blow to Crump's offense. Based on the position, though, if even one of the stones from the unit that does have stealth falls, that might be enough because that second unit is back a fair bit and doesn't have nearly as many war beasts within its triangular area. It does have Getorix, though, who's the key.
It does have Getorix.
Getorix with his truly massive strength capability right now and defensive stats. He's up to a strength 13 at the moment, which can go up to strength 15 if he warps for strength. So you're talking about a heavy war beast that's practically hitting like a gargantuan. His great axe goes up to power plus strength 21. And even his bite goes up to power plus strength 18. Possibly throw in the Gorax, and you're adding +2 onto all those melee attack and damage rolls. And then he's defense 16.
Right.
As high as some of our sneakiest models in the entire game, this giant wolf thing with his big old axe.
Brandon did a bit more clarification on the stones, so I think he's really going to be looking for a way to eliminate that threat this time. Now he's doing some measurements on the kill box, since he'll have to be concerned with that this turn. Of course, the kill box is a double-edged sword for him because he doesn't want to open himself up to an assassination from Crump. So he's got to play this turn very carefully if he can't remove those stones. But I think, and in his position, I would be looking for an immediate way to remove the stones and worry about the war beasts a little bit later. So we see 1 focus going on the Reckoner at the moment, 2 focus going on the Judicator, 3 to the Judicator.
Including the Reliquary one.
Including the Reliquary, so.
Or 3 and the Reliquary, perhaps.
I think it was a total of 3.
I just noticed Crump freaking out about how the bonded Judicator can get 4 focus points if Brandon wishes.
We see 1 already on Blessing of Vengeance as well, so Brandon just considering if he wants to put that 4th focus point on the Judicator or another point on the Reckoner. So he keeps confirming that the stones he thinks don't have stealth, so Crump is offered to just continually point at the stones that don't have stealth for Brandon's
seems like
benefit.
A good plan.
It does. I mean, again, this is a really critical moment for Brandon. If he doesn't eliminate those stones, I think he's going to be in a very bad position because of the kill box and because of the double teleport threat. So it very much comes down to what he can do on this turn. Eliminate that threat, and I think that Crump's army has a more uphill struggle against Brandon's list at that point.
The Admonisher ability on Hierarch Severius is a way to also get at stealth models, but with POW 10, it's not a
against
very
the
reliable one.
High armor.
A lot of damage out there.
Yep.
Or even the war beasts. Most of those beasts have high enough armor that a POW 10, even boosted, it's not really going to hurt them too badly.
So Brandon looks like he's ready to begin his turn. He's got 4 focus on Severius, so just 2 on the Judicator, 1 on the Reckoner, and 1 on Blessing. Blessing, also worth noting, is fairly resilient thanks to the massive push on his shield. Even if Getorix gets up to that crazy high strength using Primal, he doesn't get close enough, the 2-inch push. He basically has to be base to base to be able to continue to take swings, and even then he's only going to get 2.
Or you provide some sort of a backstop.
Yep, and stones are great for that.
Stones are great for that. So are Temple Flame Guard. If you're teleporting into position anyway and Getorix gets into a nice spot with somewhere within like 3-inch gap between Blessing of Vengeance, or up to a 4-inch gap between Blessing of Vengeance and a Temple Flame Guard or any other Protectorate model, he can attack with the He can attack first with his bite, bounce back a little bit, run into whatever, and then just keep making
Swing
great
away with
axe
his
attacks
axe.
until Blessing of Vengeance is fallen into a heap.
Yep. But
or, in theory, with such massive strength and possibly the Gorax, he could rip off that shield in one hit, potentially.
The Reckoner's allocated with 1 focus. I think Brandon just changed his allocation before his turn began here. I want to make sure. Oh, so we had to back up a little bit because the Wilder had not activated, and that's an illegal game state. So because Brandon hadn't begun his turn, Crump was given the chance to activate his Wilder, and the Wilder moved up. So we see the Choir activating first, likely to give battle to the Warjacks.
And we did get an Enliven from a Vassal of Menoth over on that Reckoner.
I think those haven't been cleaned yet because both Jacks still have their Enlivens. Also, it looks like Brandon dropped Holy Ward on the Temple Flame Guard, which is an interesting choice here. Choir activates and advances. So we see a battle. Yep. So we see the Reckoner going after the Choir battled it, moving up to get a shot on that stone. So we see a shot on the stone, in range at 10.5 inches. Hits easily. POW 15, so 3 off. Destroys the stone, so there goes 1 teleport.
11 points of damage, that'll do it.
Just has to remove the stealth stone. We see Rupert going next, giving the Temple Flame Guard Tough and Fearless from Heroic Call.
Enliven on, I do believe the Enliven on the Reckoner is current.
Is on the Reckoner?
Yeah, I think so. I heard him say it was soft, but I think that's from this turn. It's certainly what he should do.
It's possible that Enliven is also on the Blessing of Vengeance then. We just missed it when they were doing the reverse to game state. So we see the Temple Flame Guard shield walling and advancing. I'm still really surprised that he dropped Holy Ward.
He must plan on needing every bit of his focus this turn.
Now, Severius is sitting on 4, so there are definitely options here. Maybe with Admonisher wanting to boost, or a Hex Blast. A Hex Blast certainly, with Blessing of Vengeance Affinity, giving it +2 POW at a POW 15, can take out a stone easily enough if you can get within range.
Brandon did also call for the Temple Flame Guard Iron Zeal.
Yep, so that puts those Temple Flame Guard at a nice, hefty arm 21. Clumping up into little groups of 2 and 3, trying to cover up.
Certainly minimizes any risk from the Griffin Shrieks.
Yep. Did kind of get in front of that Judicator, though. I'm wondering if he's not going to advance the Judicator at all this turn, or if he's only going to advance a little bit. So that is Iron Zeal. That is not an upkeep spell. It's just written on an upkeep spell. So we see the Covenant of Menoth advancing. And using none of its abilities? None were declared.
Didn't catch any.
So Vassal now advancing.
Brandon clarifies that, yes, the Blessings Enliven was accidentally left over from last turn
and he just
cleared
enlivened.
it, but then he enlivened him again. So
you see
the Reckoner and the Blessing of Vengeance are now both enlivened.
See Blessing running forward
and leaving behind its Enliven.
Yep. So one of the interesting things here is that if, based on Rovin's positioning, I think what we're going to see is we're going to see Rovin giving Severius the ability to see through stealth, and then Severius channeling a Hex Blast through Blessing and hitting the stealth stone.
Yeah, POW 15, a lot more likely than that POW 10 from his ranged attack.
And that extra focus gives him a boost, which would be exactly what he needed. Based on that the 4 focus that are left on him. So we see a mark for the shield wall getting called from the judges. So Blessing has just finished his activation because of the run. So clarification that Reckner does have Enliven on it. And now Brandon feeling like he messed up. So see if he elucidates us on that moment as he looks at the table here. Trying to figure out how he's going to go from here. Considering the table state. Apparently feeling like he's made an error here in terms of his turn planning. Counts his focus. He's got 3 for a Hex Blast.
We were talking earlier about the shield on the Blessing of Vengeance. It becomes a lot more dangerous when you've got Enliven in the mix.
Yep.
Even if you can find yourself a backstop for you,
yeah.
you also need
a backstop,
for him.
For the Enliven to just
so
dance
he can't
away.
Get anywhere.
Yeah. See measurement of control area to try to figure out the kill box zone again from Brandon. He's considering here what he's going to do. But yeah, one of the things that Brandon's list overall excels at is that multiple attack denial. The ability to kind of get his Warjacks out of harm's way either by the bond on the Judicator or Enlivens on the 2 jacks. So now we see Rovan and his bodyguard getting an advance.
Yep. Which will be needed if he wants. It needs to be an advance if he wants to use a spell.
So Menos Sight goes on the Judicator, not on Severius. So the Judicator now can see through stealth.
So the only model over there that Severius can see, arc-wise, or that is not stealthy, is really just the Blackcloud Wayfarer, right?
Mm-hmm. And granted, the Blackcloud Wayfarer does look close enough to the stone that he could catch it in the blast, but blast damage against the arm of that stone is not likely to be enough. So the Adjudicator turning a little bit, advancing tinily forward.
He doesn't want to get any closer than he has to.
So we see him centering on the stealth stone. The stones being so easy to hit, the inaccurate roll on the Adjudicator really doesn't matter. So we see the left rocket being fired. Totally within range. Hits, no problem, because the stone's immobile rule. And then the stone is exploded, so that'll take care of the double teleport issue. We see the secondary deviation bounce back and hit nothing based on the deviation. So we got blast damage to check, potentially hitting the
Warpwolf Stalker.
Stalker. Primary hit does hit the Stalker. It does 1 point to the 4. And the stone is now destroyed, so that takes care of the teleportation issue. With both stones destroyed, the Judicator can now shoot at any model in the battle group that he wants. Within his arc, of course. That was the left shot that took out the stone, so he's got the whole right.
Put a lot of things in his arc. He did also just clarify how hyper-aggressive works.
And then he chose not to shoot the other rocket.
No other shot at all.
Well, he can't see through the forest because awareness is not up.
Yeah.
So he would have only been able to shoot at Getorix.
Well, looks like also a good shot on the Griffin.
But I think he was afraid of catching blast damage and triggering hyper-aggressive and giving Getorix the ability to advance forward because he did ask for clarification on that.
Yeah, could be. I mean, Getorix's armor's not that high. The blast damage might have dealt him a point, and it is something that he couldn't afford.
Yep.
Having Getorix move forward, even if it is unlikely, is certainly unacceptable.
Yeah. It's not what you want to see after you just spent a decent amount of your turn figuring out how to remove the teleportation issue. Don't let Getorix get any closer. So Brandon clarifying about if Getorix hyper-aggressive triggers off any attack or just ranged or magic attack. So it
would not trigger off of Admonisher is what he's really asking.
Correct. So we see Admonisher going. Does hit D3, so it's going to go to 3 different models. So POW 10 on the stone, does nothing. And a boost on the Griffin, which is 3 points to the 6.
The
on
Griffin
Getorix,
or the Pureblood?
Might have been the Pureblood. I looked like they were pointing to something next to it, but the Pureblood makes sense.
And then Getorix
took
a couple points also.
A couple points, and Admonisher doesn't allow him to do the hyper-aggressive. And that's the turn. So Severius sitting on a couple focus left, and the teleportation issue taken care of by Brandon on that turn. So some good play there, realizing exactly what Crump's list is designed to do and neutralizing it with the tools he had at his disposal.
Now, keep in mind that does not mean Crump's assassination is gone, just that he's got to do it a bit more directly. Kaya's Dogpile spell lets a beast charge at +2 inches. Then also the Blackclad Wayfarer's Hunter's Mark lets a beast charge at +2 inches. And by that point, the War Beast can charge without being forced for 3 different reasons.
Right.
Alpha, Dogpile, and Hunter's Mark, but free is free. And a Speed 6 War Beast who's acting like a Speed 10 War Beast can really just bound across the field and start hacking things up.
Absolutely terrifying in terms of mobility there.
Granted, the lack of Gallows Groves in the list does mean that Dogpile is a lot less likely.
Not unless you're using Laris to channel.
Right. You could sacrifice Laris for it.
See a check of control area on Kaya to make sure that she's going to be where she needs to be outside the kill box, as that matters this turn. Also this turn, those objectives can be targeted and damaged. So we might see Crump switch from an assassination run to a attempted scenario run like we did see before against his game in Charles Aerosmith. But where that one was a clear-cut case, I don't think that, as you said, he should be giving up on his assassination run yet. He's got a lot of tools left in that toolbox. He's just doesn't have the double teleport.
There's also the feat to think about. What's the right timing for Kaya to send everyone out and then draw them back with Call of the Hunt?
He's got a little bit of an issue in terms of his line of sight abilities here. He does not have a great line for that one stalker who's behind the forest, since it doesn't have Hunter. He's also got a little bit of that issue with the Pureblood, although it can go after the Temple Flame Guard or Blessing of Vengeance, but you're dealing with the shield at that point. The Pureblood not having reach with Enliven, you're kind of only going to get one real shot off on it. The Pureblood not known for really being able to deliver a killing blow, unlike a hit from Getorix might.
Yeah, the Pureblood more for taking care of massed infantry.
Yep. Does have a good line on his spray, though, if it wanted to try to take those Temple Flame Guard potentially. But at arm 21 and the book being Ancient Shrouded, unlikely that that would be the best move here. Is an option. POW 14, not impossible. See Brandon considering, or sorry, excuse me, Crump considering what he's going to be upkeeping this turn, if anything. Measures his control area really quick.
He also seems to be juggling in his mind order of activations. There are definitely some different options available to him.
So he activated Kaya and he healed 1 off of Getorix. And is Kaya going to do anything else this turn?
The upkept Shadow Pack.
And the feat token's on the table, but I don't think he feated.
No. I don't think so. I certainly didn't hear it.
So we'll see here in a second, but typically the feat token goes a little closer.
Yeah, like by the Warcaster or Warlock.
See the Wayfarer advancing a little bit, like they're trying to get a Hunter's Mark shot.
Potentially.
maybe a spray, but again, Temple Flame Guard. So that Blackclad is also accelerated, it looks like, from Kaya.
Yep.
Token next to it. So
I think a spray. Yep.
Here comes a
Clearly
spray.
now. Called that a little too late. But with acceleration, he's going to also be able to jump back to safety.
hits and crit knockdown, but he can't crit knockdown because of Iron Zeal. So arm 21 not cracked. First one hits. That one will do it.
Yeah, that will certainly do it.
Not enough on the Reckoner. Looks like that might have been an attack roll because nothing got pulled off.
No.
And there goes a phase jump back to the stone.
So hit everything.
Yep.
But did not.
Hit everything with authority. There were a lot of 11s in that roll.
There were. And was every attack a crit, I think?
No, only two.
Two.
He hit a double 3, it looked like, and I think he got a boxcars on one. The dice were rolling pretty fast, though. So Crump figuring out the defenses on the Temple Flame Guard. With set defense, they will go up to a 15.
Not nearly as bad as the 18 they could have been.
No, not at all. They are tough, though, and fearless, so that factors into something, but Holy Ward on them would have made them even worse for Brandon. It's one of the few times where you might consider...
better for Brandon.
Even better for Brandon, excuse me. Worse for Crump. It's one of the few times, actually, where you might want... you might be missing pack hunters, not really needing the free charge from the alpha, but rather looking for that +2 defense.
Rotterhorn Griffin flies in.
Had to take a swing there.
Makes an attack. It
misses on the chart.
what?
Looked like he hit.
Oh. Is he failing to break armor, or what's going on here?
So we see a bunch of attack rolls happening. And then he flits back because, so it is Kai's feet turn. He did feet. That token is there. And we see the Griffin getting forced and then drawn back to Kaya.
So no real risk involved this turn in using those War Beasts.
Failed to do any damage on those Temple Flame Guard, though. Not sure what he was rolling for. He might have screeched, actually. He moved forward and screeched and failed to crack armor. That would
explain why the high rolls still weren't enough, because the screech is low POW.
Followed by a couple of bot attacks, which also failed to crack armor. So Crump deciding where to go next. Surprised he feated this turn a little bit. Yeah. Unless he really thinks he's got a line on Getrick to something important. Potentially the Reckoner, but Enliven is a problem.
It could be, well, no. I was thinking for a second there that maybe he was going to try the truly massive charge, but the Blackclad didn't use Hunter's Mark.
See Laris advancing forward, trying to determine line of sight potentially here.
For
or
arcing.
Advancing forward. So Laris advancing.
Advancing somewhere, maybe.
Well, he's over the wall now, so he advanced up. So moving within 3 inches of Kaya. Not using Spirit Shift for that, though, just simply advancing, it looked like.
No, certainly not being used for channeling right now, I wouldn't think.
So where's Crump thinking of going here? He's measuring his control area again.
If he's planning, oh, here comes Getrix.
Here comes Getrix.
Advances a couple inches, 2 more, leaves him 2. Moves the last couple of inches.
So we're going to see Getrix warping for strength. He's just going to kill a couple of Temple Flame Guard here? It seems like a...
Apparently.
a low yield
Swings
use of
on
the
first Temple Flame Guard
feet.
and annihilates him. Not tough.
Not tough, so. So we see a hit there.
Other Temple Flame Guard kills him as well.
Yep. Then we got one more. Buys an attack, hits, and toughs. Does he buy another attack? Buys another attack. Not knocked down, so he does have to hit. He misses. Buys a fourth attack on that Temple Flame Guard. Hits, and that Temple Flame Guard is not tough.
Getorix now moving back to Kaya thanks to her feet.
3 inches to Kaya. Full up on Fury, however. A lot of tokens on that table.
So whittling away the Temple Flame Guard effectively, but a little bit surprising if that's the primary usage of the feat. Call of the Hunt more, typically more aggressive than what we're seeing right now.
He doesn't, I don't think he has line of sight to the Judicator with the Stalker. So
no,
the shifting
not
stones,
with where the forest is.
Sees the
And
shifting,
he can't make it there.
not without Dogpile and Hunter's Mark for sure, and he doesn't have those.
He didn't use Hunter's Mark.
He's got one other chance to use it with the other.
Doesn't have a means of dogpiling anymore.
No, not anymore.
Kaya already went.
Kaya did already. It's true. Kaya already went. See the shifting stones advancing forward. Kaya measuring her control area again. Stone Keeper moving forward into position. Likely to do a rock hammer. Trying to clear out those Temple Flame Guard. See the rock hammer.
On the Judicator, or critical on the Reckoner would be helpful because it knocks him down, denies him the Enliven.
Hits but does not crit, so, and he missed anyway, so deviation. Again, it really seems to me that when Brandon eliminated those stones, it just throws Crump.
Well, is Crump going to once again rally and wind up winning the match?
I mean, he certainly pulled off the scenario last time. But I don't see that same position. Like Brandon took a very assertive turn 1, a very assertive turn 2. It's in better position based on the scenario overall. We see the Stalker charging the Reckoner, warping for strength. Perhaps those aren't forest templates like we thought. They were before. He hits on the boost. So dice -1. Good roll. So 10 points of damage to the 6. Enliven will go off. Reckoner will trigger Enliven. Won't be able to get away from it, though.
From the Stalker?
With only 2 inches?
3 inches.
3 inches, so he will be able to get away. So, yep, we're seeing him measure his melee range to get away from the Stalker, just outside of it. You're right. So, yep. Oh, Enliven is a full advance, excuse me. So he can go up to 5.
Admonition's 3.
Admonition's 3.
Advance, yeah.
So my mistake there.
Advance is out of the way, but now a Temple Flame Guard is going to get mauled a lot. Or no, not a Temple Flame Guard. The Vassal Mechanic. Excuse me.
So won't be repairing anything anytime soon there.
But I don't believe anything went out on the Reckoner. A lot of damage, but
didn't look like it. So the Warp Wolf Stalker now teleports back. And forces him to regenerate.
Regeneration. And then the Warp Wolf Stalker will come back to his pack leader.
So we see a little bit of cleanup as that big clump of models occurs right there.
And tokens.
And a lot of tokens, a lot of Fury, a lot of different effect tokens and everything else.
Just a few models left to activate at this point.
The Pureblood, a Blackclad Wayfarer, the one remaining Griffin, Wilder.
And Druid Wilder. Yep. I think that's
Both units of stones have activated. The Gorax, I think, has yet to activate, but expecting we'll see a primal. Yep, here comes the Gorax. Would expect to see a primal here. Or just advances back.
Well, primal would help with like a couple more damage, but
so the Gorax
Blessing of Vengeance is still also enlivened, so he can get away.
Simply activated, did nothing, and teleported back towards Kaya using the feat. So Crump now asking for the armor on Blessing of Vengeance. A 19.
17 base, 19 in the front arc for most weapons.
See that Blackclad Wayfarer advancing backwards. Checking control area. I see a spray.
See another rock hammer, or another spray. Stone
spray, yep. Hits with no crit, so no knockdown, so just deals 3 points of damage with a good damage roll, but not what Crump wanted to see. He wanted to see that knockdown to knock out Enliven.
Now,
and then
crits
Enliven
aren't super likely, but if you roll enough attempts at it, eventually he'll be able to knock somebody down and deny their enliveningness.
And Enliven kicks off because Blessing did take damage from that attack, so he
advance,
gets to make a full advance. That'll put him outside the range of that Stalker, or excuse me, Pureblood. So,
and Kaya's getting so surrounded. Is there even room for the last two War Beasts to get teleported to
Well,
her?
if you move the feet token, there's definitely some room on
That's
her
true, yeah.
her right side behind the wall. But what is that? I'm not seeing what this strategy is buying Crump beyond pulling him back from the scenario and really seeding the flags at this point. Like, both flags are open. If he doesn't leave that Pureblood or that Griffin in contestation zone, he's moved back the Druid Blackclad. So Brandon has a good shot if this board position stays as it is in scoring 4 points on his next turn.
Well, 3. Like, Severius isn't going to get to 1.
That's true. So 3 points, but still a massive swing. We saw how effective that was in Crump's game against
absolutely. Against Charles.
Against Charles.
So the Pureblood has warped for Spell Ward and is making a spray, calling Blessing of Vengeance the target so that it covers a whole bunch of dudes.
He's going to risk a battle-driven effect on Roven and his bodyguard, as one of the exemplar bodyguards is caught by that spray.
Well, it doesn't look like he's planning on leaving any of his army near Brandon.
So, misses on the first Temple Claim Guard.
Or hits.
Hits, boost to kill him. Fails the tough roll. Next one.
Really focusing on these Temple Flame Guard.
Hit.
A lot of focus going into this.
And it's tough. Hits Blessing of Vengeance. Dice off 5. 3 to the 4.
The Covenant of Menoth is not hit. The Bodyguard, is not only hit, but destroyed. So that does trigger battle-driven.
Brandon.
But now there's just 2 models left in that unit, Vygoth Roven himself and 1 Bodyguard.
Brandon stating that he just made him mad, bro. As now that unit will have battle-driven. But
well, and now the
there goes the
Pureblood gets pulled back onto the pile of stuff.
Just seeding the
There's a lot of stuff.
Seeding the scenario back there.
Look at all those Fury points.
Yep. He's got the Wilder left. He can slough some of them, but he's going to be frenzying next turn more than likely.
Well, he's got some Serenity action.
A little bit. Kaya sitting at none, but only a 6. He's got 4 on the Pureblood, 4 on Getrix, 1 on the Stalker. That'll get sloughed off with Serenity. Can take 4 off. He might be able to manage it.
Yeah, he might be all right. Now that his stones are not doing what he really wants, they can at least manage his Fury.
And he's got 2 on the Griffin that has already gone. He's got 1 Griffin left to go. What is that Griffin going to do?
My money's on not generate a whole lot of Fury.
Potentially. I mean, he's got 2 Temple Flame Guard. He certainly seems to have a murder death wish for those Flame Guard to get gone.
Animosity Flame Guard.
So counting, asking for. Well, that Griffin looks like it's not going to go forward and try to kill stuff. So we got the Wilder and the Rotterhorn Griffin left. Rotterhorn Griffin.
Checking the range to the flag, since you can measure the flag contest area at any time.
It's not as if that Stonekeeper is going to be hard for Brandon to remove, though.
Well, he does still have stealth,
which Brandon has an easy way answer for with Roven.
The judge is going to check to see if it's within 4. I believe it is.
Looks like it is.
No.
No. Says it is not.
From the angle right over the models in question, able to get a template right in between them, which we can't quite see, but the judges sure can.
So just barely
just
within.
Excuse me. Just in.
So trying to replace that.
Yeah, that was a hair's breadth there for sure.
So we still need to see what the Griffin is going to do and what the Wilder's going to do, but we kind of know what the Wilder's going to do. She's going to strip Fury off with condition.
You go totally crumping.
I don't think that's the game plan here.
No, you're right.
So measuring control again to the flag. So we see the Griffin going after the Temple Flame Guard.
Charging on in.
Charging in for free because of Alpha. He
Thanks
hits.
to Call of the Hunt, he can be forced even while outside of Kaya's control area, which I believe he is.
So we saw a miss actually from set defense. And we're going to see a defensive strike.
Now, Blessing of Vengeance.
From Blessing of Vengeance.
Strikes against the Rotterhorn Griffin.
So it misses.
The Griffin's second attack also missed. The Griffin's first purchased attack hits. Temple Flame Guard is now destroyed.
No, I believe his second initial hit, and he boosted the damage roll.
Gotcha.
Because he's only got 1 Fury right now. So could burn some more Fury to try to kill that last Temple Flame Guard.
That could happen.
He broke the shield wall, so there it is. Buys an attack. So
not boosting it. Does hit, though.
Hit. And he's only looking at 18. Boost the damage roll. Puts
17, yeah.
7. Right, 17.
Wow.
And now
so much Fury.
Griffin's got 3, and it looks like he's trying to get that Griffin within 4 of the flag, maybe? Maybe? Or maybe he's just within 3, and that is a cluster of models right there.
It really is.
Well, blast damage from the Judicator certainly can't do a lot of damage to some of that arm. I mean, 2 of those rockets with some good secondary deviations can put some damage on all of that stuff.
I can think of some models that would have some real fun with that formation right there.
Brandon's Fiora 2 list, for one, if it could get past the stealth, but it wouldn't be able to, so it's kind of a moot point.
Well, it'd get fire
could set
everywhere.
fire on everything, yeah. Just
all
hope
those,
for some good deviations.
Shots, Judicator dropping. It's 2 normal shots with secondary blast, then a Vassal shot with secondary blast. Fire, fire everywhere.
So see Brandon doing some cleanup here at the start of his turn.
Certainly he's got 1 control point. That's not even a question.
He's got 1 guaranteed. I can't imagine he's not going to get 2 from the flags, and 3 from the objective isn't inviolable to what he's got at all. Especially if he ignores that clump of center models. Maybe that's Crump's play here. He's trying to draw Brandon out into
trying to bait him.
Trying to bait him into taking that, but it's rare when you really can. It's rare when you really want to give your opponent 3 control points, and his feat is used, so he doesn't have a great alternate play here.
One of the things we haven't talked about yet is how little use Hierarch Severius's feat is going to be.
Yep. Certainly this Crump's list neuters that feat by and large, since he won't be able to take control of really any models necessarily. He can mess with that stone ward though.
Yeah.
And he
Which will allow him to move it away from the flag.
Yep.
Like, even if it's within 4 inches, you might as well feat.
and go ahead and just throw a rock into the big cluster of stuff there.
Oh, nope. It's not a grunt. It's an
yeah.
officer.
It's an
so
officer.
not even.
So really, he has no targets here for it.
Yep.
So yeah, Fires of Communion not going to be effective at all in this game. As the stones
Now,
are
if
constructs.
he used an ability to make somebody undead, then he could use his feet.
Then he could use his feet, do some damage. So 2 to Blessing of Vengeance. Keeps 4 focus on himself, 2 to the Adjudicator, giving it 3. And it looked like 1 on the Reckoner. So Brandon considering what he's going to do with his turn here.
I would say he's going to advance.
Got it. Oh, I mean, you've got the opening. You take it.
So just from a hypothetical standpoint, if he just completely swarms that flank nearer the camera and like builds a wall of dudes in front of the flag and some stuff to protect the flag, like the Covenant, for example, to grab the control point and be very hard to remove. What could Crump even do?
Not much based on the position of his models. Not for a turn anyway. So he gets
Seems very
2
difficult.
on this turn. He probably gets 1. See Blessing charging the objective. Rupert Carvalho went as well and put, I'm not sure which effect on Roven and his bodyguard, but you see that token there. I think it was Dirge of Miss.
Would make sense.
So we see a POW 16 on the charge because of Brutal. So there's the damage off 4, does 8 points.
9.
9 points.
Leaves it with 6 remaining.
Buys an attack. So takes.
Leaves it with 1, I believe.
Quick clarification here on. So the objective is destroyed.
Or no.
Based on that roll. A little math there. So POW 15. See just 5 more. So they're still good.
A little bit of confusion on the numbers, but but they do work it out with the judges and the players. Find out that yes, those rolls were sufficient because of the choir.
Yep, choir brought it up to a 15.
And then the charge was the 17 due to Brutal. So Vigoth Roven does once again give the sight to Severius.
Just powerful charge on the halberd, so it's just a flat 15. The 16 was confusion over the assuming Eye of Menoth, apparently.
Right.
Because it was Severius. So either way, the math worked out. They got it figured out. But a little bit of confusion at the table on that one. So we see Fear of God.
Fear of God.
Being tossed out at Getorix. So, oddly enough, big bad Getorix.
No special attacks, which also means no power attacks.
Yep. Oh. So, taking that back because they realized that it actually doesn't do anything. I mean, beyond stopping it from making special attacks. Getorix not the guy to headbutt you. Maybe a slam here or there, a trample. So we see a Hex Blast going into that Blackclad Wayfarer with Severius. And boosting. It's a hits and dead from a POW 15, so easy enough. Severius now with no focus. See him moving towards that flag, so he's clearly going to try to take this, using the book as mobile cover here.
Well, it's a good piece to use.
Yep.
Covenant of Menoth is great blocker in this situation.
Yep. So we see a rain of fire targeting that stone that's not stealthed. Looks like it's going to be out.
Oh, I was about to say it looks like it's in.
Apparently it's in. I'm wrong. So it hits, jumps to one other. So it hits the pure blood instead because they randomized. No damage on the pure blood and no damage on the stone. Worth a shot, though. He had it.
Might as well take it.
Could
8 off. I mean, you could
spike
get
the dice
a high
and
roll.
get a couple points. Looks like the Temple Flame Guard are going to go next here.
They took a lot of casualties last turn, but there are still several Temple Flame Guard left.
Plenty left. So shield wall ordered. Looks like he's taking your advice here and just putting everything he's got over to that side towards the camera.
Well, I meant more a wall, like, way far up. Like the Temple Flame Guard run up there and get holy warded for the defense and dirged, and then they hold the line while Brandon wins the game.
Yeah.
But
it's not quite the tact he's taken here.
A more conservative course of action.
Crump also commenting that he's a little surprised that Brandon's running away, but Brandon might just be really wary of the potential for Crump to be baiting him.
Which is possible.
I mean, there's clearly a strategy that Crump has in mind, but I'm befuddled as to what it really is at this point.
I also did not hear an enliven this turn on Blessing.
No enliven currently.
Oh, which
Brandon?
is what Brandon said just now. Trying to enliven because he forgot to do it, but he does not have the range.
Yep. Just advances, no enliven on Blessing. That could prove to be a painful mistake with Gedric's in charge range. So we see Tough and Fearless on... Oh, so that is, that token on Roven and his bodyguard was battle-driven. Brandon removed that because it's not going to matter for this turn. They're not going to be attacking anything. So Rupert Carvalho does activate and put Tough and Fearless on the Temple Flame Guard. Adjudicator activates, moves back again a little bit. Turning
Brandon definitely taking a more conservative approach to this turn than we might have expected.
So we see a rocket being fired at that guy. Goes 2 to 3. Doesn't use the ignoring stealth on Roven. 5 and the 4 bounces back, so that goes nowhere.
Well, he used it on Severius.
All right. So he does actually. So he got the Stone Ward with the first blast. So he did 4 points. 3 to 3. So that does miss him. It's 4 and the 2 goes back and hits nothing. So that model's still alive, Stonekeeper.
1 box left, I believe, but still there.
So we see the Vessel on the other side enlivening the Reckoner. But now Brandon unable to capture that flag. His plan was to use the Reckoner to do it. So basically using the Reckoner as a roadblock for Adjudicator against a potential charge from Gedric's. And the book activates, says no knockdown or stationary, and that's the end of Brandon's turn. Brandon scores 2 control points, 1 for destroying the objective and 1 for taking the flag. But he didn't really put himself in a position to stop Crump from contesting next turn.
Crump is now using his various tools at his disposal to leech Fury, remove Fury, taking care of his Serenity removals, and
making sure he has just enough Fury so that he doesn't have to take any threshold checks.
I think he's still going to have some left. Yep.
So you see the Griffins now. So
clarifying which models can be seen.
Both those Griffins winding up with Fury on them.
So the first Griffin
does fail.
Frenzy.
Frenzy's into his Griffin buddy's back. I believe that the Frenzied Griffin is the one that was damaged before, so this other Griffin is fresh.
Well, this other Griffin's about to be a damaged Griffin, too.
Oh,
Wow.
Lord. So 10 total damage to the 6 from that Frenzy roll. Bird on bird carnage indeed. So no aspect gets crippled,
aspects.
but
The spirit's a little over half out, and the mind is a little over half out.
still,
Healthy clawing.
yeah. So we see, I believe Shadow Pact was upkept.
Yeah, I would certainly expect Shadow Pact to be upkept. That's critical for this matchup.
See the measuring of some control areas. Brandon's positioning back has definitely stymied Crump's ability to engage his pieces based on his movement back from the feet. So kind of a game of cat and mouse here. But
Well, without the Enliven, Blessing of Vengeance is vulnerable.
Blessing of Vengeance is certainly in trouble. See the stone shifting forward.
I dubbed that stone backdrop.
Yep. That will stop charging Getorix from getting repelled away. So like we talked about, Brandon, you can see Brandon there just kind of shaking his head that he forgot the Enliven, a critical mistake here in terms of keeping Blessing alive. One that doesn't necessarily put him on an extreme back foot, but hurts. Hurts a lot. See the other shifting stone unit?
Wow. They are
Teleporting over, making a solid wall. That'll pull that.
Yeah, the Black-Clad Wayfarer is not going to be near the flag anymore then.
Or he's just letting those models go out of formation. Nope. There we go. It's illegal to shift out of formation, so he has to move the stone. So, see this Stone Keeper's going to rock hammer. Does hit. So
I bet
power
Brandon
14
would have
off
felt
5.
better if it critted.
Yeah, then the Enliven wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, if you knocked down Blessing
true.
of Vengeance,
Then you would have
then
been
it's not his
inconsequential
fault.
about the mistake.
It's Crump's
yeah.
fault.
Exactly. No, you're right. You're right. That's certainly what I'd want to have happen in that situation. To know that I really didn't lose anything. Instead, lesson learned.
Checking control area.
But it comes back to what we were talking about before. I mean, these guys have been through a ringer to get to this place. You're tired.
Absolutely.
You're hungry. You're probably seeing a little cross-eyed at that point, and so those little mistakes can happen. And we've seen a couple of games over the course of this week, or this weekend, this War Machine weekend specifically, be lost because of them, or to have massive turns, of course, because of it. So see the objective being used as a proxy base here to kind of determine Getorix's charge lane. Trying not to clip that pure blood, which he's base to base with.
Right, and try not to clip a stone at all.
So we see that's the final position that he wants to get to.
From
Judge is going to come in and check it.
down. It looks like it might need to shift a tiny bit. Yeah, maybe not. Like if so, it would have to shift slightly to our left.
Mm-hmm. So
Nope.
we see a
Chili
termination
rolls it
chilling.
good.
It's determined to be good. Trying to get within half an inch there. See a charge for free. Mat 9 needs not snake eyes. Almost
So-
rolled it though.
Warps for strength and
Defensive strike on the
strike
Getorix.
triggers. The massive axe being used first here for its powerful charge ability.
Not quite enough. So 21, it's a huge roll. +2.
So we have a 13 damage to the 3, wipes out the arc node, wipes out both those columns.
Bite does hit.
Bite will deal another 10 points.
And that's the end of Blessing. See Getorix using his Animus.
His gives him retaliatory strike. Not quite the same as the defensive strike from Blessing of Vengeance, but similar in that once melee is joined, he'll be able to participate during his opponent's turn.
Got Eric certainly out in the wind right now, though.
But not a whole lot that can capitalize at the moment.
No, not at all. I mean, at this point, depending on what Crump does with the rest of his turn, you might see Brandon shift his focus to that other flag. So we've got the Pureblood advancing towards that flag too. Granted, that's where Severius is, so it's where you want to put a lot of your resources if you're still looking for that assassination.
The Pureblood warps for Spell Ward once again. It's advanced its full movement. Declares a spray attack with his Death Howler.
See where he targets it here. He's had a once again going for the Temple Flame Guard.
Well, chooses the one in the middle that will give him 4 targets under that POW 14 magical spray.
Boost to hit. So it needs 4s to kill. Does it, and that Temple Flame Guard toughs. And not knocked down because of the book. So
Next
it does
attack hits.
Does
also causes a tough roll, but toughs again.
No knockdown.
The last attack here on the Flame Guard misses, and now the attack on the Covenant of Menoth
does hit
hits
and does a point.
And winds up dealing 1 point of damage thanks to Ancient Shroud.
Well, that's about the best you can honestly hope for if you're those Temple Flame Guard. 3 tough rolls, 3 no knockdowns. It's effectively just wasted that Pureblood's activation.
2 and a miss, but same deal.
Yep.
And the Covenant now can only take 4 more attack rolls, no matter how powerful they are.
Right. Sounds terrible for that book. This is when I want something with consume, because man-sized is your friend.
Oh, yeah. That's always funny.
Just gobble it up. We see a condition from the Wilder.
Druid Wilder pulls off all of the Fury points from that Pureblood thanks to the condition ability.
So a lot of the heavy hitters getting moved over towards that flag where Blessing was.
Crump definitely using fewer focus points this turn. Fury points.
So we see the Rotterhorn advancing.
He's trying to contest the flag, but apparently not try to control it. Doesn't want to leave it just wide open to the Reckoner and Judicator.
Trying to avoid the awareness threat, which is a real one. Rotterhorn cast acceleration on the Black Clad that remains.
So it's going to allow the Black Clad to use his teleportation and then also attack this turn.
Brandon Lars is going next.
Runs. Gets into position just kind of in the middle of the table there. Still definitely not being used for his channeling capabilities yet.
Runs back a little bit more with the remaining movement. Didn't really wind up anywhere, just had to run around that other stalker.
He does have Guard Dog, so keeping him within 3 inches of Kaya is a good plan.
See the Black Cloud advancing, moving into the forest.
Makes a stone spray at the Reckoner. Not a crit.
Does 3 points.
Does 3 damage.
It's a good roll.
Enliven move.
Liven goes off.
Brandon clarifies that the Warp Wolf Stalker has not activated yet, so the Enliven move will could be directly towards the opposing army, but without that Warp Wolf Stalker gone yet, it's not an ideal plan.
Depends on if he can put the forest between him and that stalker.
It's a potential. It doesn't look like he's got enough movement to get there, though.
No, I don't think so. Not with the large base. So Brandon taking his time here. Always got to be careful about too much consideration on your clock, though, for these things. You don't want to make a hasty decision, but you also don't want to wind up with only a couple minutes at the critical point in the game. So we see the Reckoner actually advancing
laterally a
bit, towards his friendly objective. Quick measurement of his melee range. but you're allowed to check at any time.
Drop back half an inch.
Yep. Trying to stay out of that stalker's.
Maybe a quarter inch.
You saw Crump there just getting ready to measure Kaya's control area and stopped himself because he realized he'd be giving Brandon a significant advantage. Especially since Brandon isn't done with that. So quick check there with the widget. See line of sight, it looks like.
All right. Completes the enliven move. Definitely not moving aggressively forward.
Nope.
Not with that Warp Wolf Stalker yet to activate.
And the Gorax as well, which can make that Stalker a serious problem.
Crump checks his control range again.
Mm-hmm. Was hoping for a crit knockdown, didn't get it, and Enliven once again kind of put what he wants out of range. Phase jump
we now
over.
See the phase jump back to one of the shifting stones, since the acceleration will allow the Black-Clad Wayfarer to get a lot of mileage.
Really favoring that flag where Blessing was, but potentially leaving himself vulnerable for Brandon to grab points on that other flag.
You really need to destroy at least one Griffin, possibly other models, depending on where things end up.
And those Griffins are not in the best of health right now.
One's about half dead, and the other one's, I think, just a little bit damaged.
See the Stalker advancing over. Moving a little bit over. Trying to get within 4 of the flag.
Another model going to be contesting that objective.
Yep.
Would definitely expect the Vigoth Roven to help somebody else out this particular turn now that Severius' Arc Node is out of the picture.
Yep. Yeah, Severius
probably giving the Judicator the ability to see through the
stealth.
See through the stealth.
Uh-huh.
With potentially up to 4 focus points. Could really unload on the models that are back there.
So, because he didn't declare it, Warp Wolf Stalker's warping strength.
In this particular case, not an
important
going to be an issue.
No. And moving back a little bit. So now he's no longer within 4 inches of the flag. Interesting. So basically shimmied forward and shimmied right back to where he was. Kai's going next. Gorax is activating. He's running. So likely
moves into a position just beyond the wall. And he might be going to help contest.
Maybe.
Potentially.
Certainly seems like he's going in that direction.
Yeah.
Yep. Checking the 4.
Crump pulls out the 4-inch widget there and gets the Gorax into position near the flag.
So he's got 2 beasts at least, maybe a Griffin.
Possibly a Ryle here on the Gorax. At least consider of Ryle.
Gorax riles for 1, so that puts 2 on him.
Kaya shifts her position just slightly. Tries to get Getorix into her control area. She uses her Fury to heal the Rotterhorn Griffin, the far Rotterhorn Griffin, I believe.
And that's the end of the turn.
Not very damaged anymore at all.
So there are 2 light war beasts contesting the flag of furthest from the camera, closest to the clock.
Both players now at 24 minutes.
So not a ton of time left.
Not without either player making an aggressive maneuver.
No, effectively, Brandon's missed Enliven has cost him a little bit, but he is 2 points up. However, it's going to be a challenge for him to be able to score again this turn based on his positioning, trying to avoid that alpha strike.
Score is
against
still
the Judicator.
2 control points for Brandon and 0 control points for Crump at the moment.
Though at this point, with Crump's positioning of his heavies, that Judicator is by and large free to just start moseying on towards that other flag. And there's not a ton that Crump can do about it for at least a turn. And even then, that would require a run, which would be pretty dangerous for him. The Stalker itself can do a decent amount of damage. But there's also the Reckoner to consider.
How much Fury did Kaya hold on to?
Looks like Kaya held on to 2.
Because if Kaya ever gets to the point where she's not really holding on to any Fury, then just lobbing a ton of blasts over there and boosting the damage rolls when they get nearer.
Against her low Fury, or her low armor, that is certainly a viable strategy.
Not an ideal one, though.
Brandon still talking a little bit about the failure on Enliven for Blessing being a huge mistake. Certainly cost him options this turn.
Shadow Pack proving itself to be a real bear to deal with.
So we see 2 go on the Reckoner. Looks like all 4 going on. Nope.
Interesting.
Only 1 going on the Judicator.
Well, we know the Judicator is getting 1 from its Reliquary. Whoa. No, that can't be right. For a second there, I thought Brandon was considering going melee using Creator's Wrath. That can't possibly be right.
It's not exactly what you want to do against an ornery Getorix.
With a Pureblood right next to it.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking that's a very bad plan, but he was checking something about the distance between Severius and Getorix.
Maybe just checking the threat, trying to determine how to stay in the kill box without opening Severius up to a
possibly
deadly charge.
Also Hex Blast.
He can,
but that's a tough shot with the cover there now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised at the low focus Brandon is giving the Judicator, though, on this turn. I think, as you said, Roven easily can break through the stealth, and those rockets can do some serious damage if they hit. Awareness would also allow it to see through the trees, targeting those lighter war beasts that have already taken some damage.
The high defense of these circle war beasts, I think, is proving to be part of the issue. Judicator's rockets, not ideal for that sort of target.
Still has the battle from the choir, which helps a little bit. So Brandon considering what to do, looking at his focus. Taking a look at the board position here. See him, looks like he's putting another focus on the Judicator. Has another one in his hand, so he might be considering putting 1 more on the Judicator. Nope.
Nope, that's it then. He's beginning his activations.
See the... So upkeeping Holy Ward on Severius himself.
Extra defense is definitely...
So Enliven on the Reckoner from the Vassal. Severius is sitting on 4 focus. See Roven and his Honor Guard activating. Advancing forward. Interesting. So Roven moving up. Maybe Roven's going to try to strip the Fury off. Using a negation. Try to didn't. So we see so we're just getting what's going on. So Menos Sight Roven does Menos Sight, and then the Exemplar Bodyguard does a attack against Geterix, which misses. So Menoth's sight is on the Judicator, it sounds like.
Well, if so, it's going to need to move into Vygoth Rovin's command range in order to benefit.
So Brandon just simply saying he's going to do this. He has Rupert advancing. Advancing right up into the jaws of death there. Got Rupert giving Fearless and Tough to the Temple Flame Guard again. Consideration on what to do next here. I'm not yet sure what Brandon's play is on this turn. You can definitely see that wariness setting in on both players here. See the Choir going next. Likely going to battle.
I would definitely expect a Hymn of Battle this turn.
And they do sing battle. And we see the Reckoner activating next. And the Reckoner is enlivened. So we've got Brandon just going for it. Says that he's just going to do it. So Reckoner advances. He's going to boost a shot on the Pureblood. Hits the Pureblood and crit fires. Boost damage on the Pureblood. So 11 to the 4 on the Pureblood, which is a good roll, and he's on fire.
Pureblood was not in trouble yet, though.
See the Temple Flame Guard apparently going to try to finish off the Pureblood.
It's going to take some seriously good rolls.
So check line of sight to the Pureblood. He gets to ignore his own model since he has ranked attack from the UA. And ignores it anyway because he's a large base. Small base attacking a large base. So check line of sight, can see the Pureblood through the woods. He's going to have enough to get in. See the other Temple Flame Guard charging in behind. So 3 are in there so far. And this one looks like he's just running. Trying to jam up.
Wow. Yeah, jam
list.
up the Circle Army.
Has to be careful about those Rotter Horns, though, because they're Screech now that those Temple Flame Guard are not Shield Walled or Iron Zealed, are vulnerable more than any other point to that auto-hitting POW 8.
So making individual attacks, because
Dice
if they
-7.
do hit,
It's good roll.
they're boosted from charging.
Hits again. Another decent roll. 4 more points to the 2.
Looks like something's out on the Pureblood. He has 4 total health remaining, or 4 or 5.
So Mind is out.
Oh, Mind.
Body and Spirit is crippled. Mind is the only thing that's left. Judicator runs. Brandon apparently playing to the next turn here. Book advances. No spells. And so Rovin must have picked Severius for...
Severius also runs.
No, Severius runs as well, trying to
got
get it away from the danger that Geterix poses. Maybe looking to...
Switching which side of the table he's competing for.
Vassal of Menoth running forward and basically just selling himself as a way to contest. And that's the end of Brandon's turn. So positioning his remaining heavy hitters to try to maybe dominate that flag. And fire still burns, so 2 to the 2, leaving 2 left on the Pure Blood.
Pure Blood so close to his own demise, but not there yet.
Not there.
Kaya leeches Fury. No frenzy checks this time around.
Nope. So Crump still with a lot of options here, although kind of running out of board space in terms of that Judicator just advancing forward to that flag.
Well, one of these two players needed to get aggressive here.
Yep. We saw Brandon do it. Question is, was he aggressive in the proper order? And we won't know that until we see what Crump's response is. I like the move of the Judicator towards that flag and away from Getorix. He jammed with the Stalker a little bit.
Getorix is definitely the scariest threat.
But
Circle Force.
I don't think if you're Brandon, you can really count on that Stalker not getting to the Judicator. You just have to count on the fact that the Judicator can survive one Stalker.
Yeah.
No spells from the book means that he doesn't have to worry about the assassination threat from a Spirit Dorian Laris and Kaya.
Between Alpha, Forced Evolution, if it gets shifted over to the Stalker, and Warping for Strength, and the Gorax Animus, if I didn't say that yet. Like, we put all that together, the Stalker's going to do a real number on the Judicator.
We'll lose one of its damage rolls, though, from the bond.
Yeah, so we'll lose one.
Crump checking arm on the Judicator. Still, though.
You stack everything, and you've got power plus strength, 22 on the Greatsword, 20 on the Claw. I would say you charge with the Claw.
Yep.
Try to eat the one focus to get rid of a damage roll.
Kaya upkept Shadow Pact and dropped Forced Evolution. So it's clearly going to go on the Stalker.
So Getorix is beginning to attack the Temple Flame Guard.
Misses on a Temple Flame Guard.
Misses 2. Buys an attack, hits, and obliterates that Temple Flame Guard. Or no,
that was the Vassal.
I think that was the Bodyguard. Right?
Temple Flame, potentially. Yeah, it was the Bodyguard. Tough Jack, Tufts on the Temple Flame Guard.
So we know it's not the Temple Flame Guard because they would be making
Tufts
tough
again.
rolls.
Those Temple Flame Guard are making tough rolls like bosses. Getorix is full up on Fury and really didn't accomplish a lot.
I mean, killing the Bodyguard for the Vygoth Rovin unit is useful.
We see Crump now considering where to go next after Getorix's mediocre turn. He definitely accomplished some things, but not what he really needed to. You don't want to see Getorix not kill everything he attacks. See the shifting stones shifting, trying to respond again to the fact that everything's shifting over towards that other flag.
Stonekeeper unit again, not quite in formation on first attempt.
See the Stonekeeper trying to Rockhammer, but failing to be able to do so because he's still within the range of the Covenant of Menoth, which is preventing that due to its no spell effect.
Covenant starting to really get up the field and prevent some magical abilities.
See the Wilder conditioning Getorix to remove the 4 Fury that he spent. Black-clad Wayfarer advancing forward.
Druid Wilder can't condition. They're pausing it to look it up, and they're going to find out that it is magic. So that's going to have to be reversed back to the previous game state. Putting the 4 Fury back on Getorix.
So checks on the Wayfarer to make sure he's out of range of the book, and now he's going to try a spray to clear out that Temple Flame Guard.
Declares the Reckoner the target to try to get both.
So hits both Flame
Close,
Guard.
But they decide that both the Flame Guard are covered. A miss and a hit, I believe. Is that what he said?
Looked like it was hit on the stone first.
Ah, gotcha.
Miss and a miss. So he deals damage to his stone and misses both Temple Flame Guard. things kind of falling apart for Crump here on the dice roll and trying to clear out that really minimal jam.
Well,
still has 2 Griffins though. Still
and
has
a Gorax. Like the jam is going to be cleared.
Well, he has to be careful with the Gorax though. He can't threaten the charge lane though. So we're going to see a Screech here. Comes the Screech. So he needs 6s to kill. First one does die. Second one doesn't break arm. So on the Stalker, no damage to the Stalker. Second Screech because of acceleration. So boost the damage. Toughs.
Yeah, Temple Flame Guard's still tough.
Is knocked down though.
Pretty good shape.
Less of an issue
versus
here.
Missing their tough rolls.
Asking for the def on the Adjudicator, which is a massive 8. So snakes to miss. See Forced Evolution being cast by Kaya.
As we expected there, she checks her control area.
So out of range of the book, which allows her to cast the spell. She also casts Primal on the Stalker. So
I think that's also anticipated. She needs to get out there as much damage as possible. Brings the Stalker, once he warps for strength, up to 22 on his primary weapon, 20 on his secondary weapon. Charge in with the secondary weapon since it's probably going to get negated. And then just start swinging at 20s.
She spends 2 to heal the Pure Blood. Does not use Primal. She camps 1.
The Gorax advances slightly, and then he uses Primal.
So advances back.
Puts that on the Warp Wolf Stalker.
Primal's the Stalker.
So now the Primaled, Forced Evolution, about to warp for strength, Stalker charges for free.
Yep.
Takes 1 free strike from. Oh no free strike because it's knocked down Temple Flame Guard.
So ignores the charge attack like you expected. The fist. This is just the fist.
So he charged with the sword and made the bite attack afterwards.
Buys the sword and hits. Dice +1. So 9 points to 3.
So not going all that well yet. Hits 7 points to the 1.
So they just realized that it's dice +3.
So
that
explains why.
So they need 6 more damage here.
Their math wasn't syncing up with what we were discussing earlier because they were not adding all of the bonuses. The judge is clarifying it, though.
6 more damage added on to the damage already done. So one more attack.
Final attack. And this damage roll, now that we are certain how this is all working, takes a whole bunch of damage. 13 points to the 4. Fills up the 1 grid, and it carries over to the next grid.
So superstructure is still up.
Everything but the left arm is still up for the moment.
So that takes out 1 rocket pod, 1 flamethrower.
The Warpwolf Stalker is guaranteed to frenzy next turn, but it probably won't be there next turn.
Unlikely.